Our good friend Stacey Murphy. Stacey, welcome back to the program.
Oh, thank you for having me back, guys. It's the dynamic duo again, huh?
So how are people going about it these days, Stacey? I mean, this is really tough. Like you heard what we were talking about there. It's really hard to become intimate with somebody when you're just doing it online and talking on the phone.
Well, you know what? It's changed a little bit. Actually, it's actually changed for a good reason, and because dating is becoming more intentional because people are looking for meaning, and that always is the case whenever there's a crisis that people are dealing with. And so there are actually four things that I want to just share with the listeners. If they were to incorporate this, those that are out there looking for love, but even if you're an established couple, because there are a lot of COVID divorces that are going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
You can also use these tips as well to navigate a little bit easier in your established relationship. So, one of the things with your listeners is the courtship speed has actually slowed down. So people are taking their time to really get to know the person. And one of the new tools, and I guess should say it's not a new tool, but it's always been there, but we just didn't use it, is what's replaced, after the phone conversation, then you go out for, the dinner or the pizza or the movie. Now they're doing video dating, right? So that has actually replaced the immediate face-to-face that people are doing. And, a lot of people are really enjoying it.
So, and Stacey, I'm sorry, but so because I saw that phrase as part of our little pitch deal we've got here, and your article is so virtual dating. Let me ask you, what do? You sit there and pour yourself a glass of wine?
How's your wine?
Sit there and do
How's
a Zoom call with each other? I don't know how that works.
Well, actually, Zooming I'm just calling it Zooming, because that's what people are doing. So, what people are being creative. You have to get creative. So one of the things that they're doing is, they're having dinner dates over Zoom. So you have your food, they have their food, and then they have the camera on, and they're enjoying a food and conversation together, but in the safety of their house. What some couples are even doing, they're preparing dinner together, but virtually. So say, for example, you want to have this great steak dinner. So each party will go to the store, get the same exact item, but they will put their camera on when they're in the kitchen, and they can talk and have a conversation while they're preparing dinner as if they were preparing dinner together, right? So they can see how's that person, what spices do you use on yours? How do you cook your steak? So they're finding out this is relatively intimate, because what happens is when you're first dating, you don't get into really that level of specificity, right? Yeah. But they're allowed to do that now. So that's how they're getting creative. Now,
that makes sense that, the physical aspect of the relationship doesn't get hastened, right? It's not, you don't just jump into that because you're like, whoa, I can't get together with this person. And also, if I am going to risk getting COVID, it's going to be someone I want to know them a little bit better, right? But
exactly.
But at some point, though, I guess the flip side would be, I'm of the opinion, even just having done a lot of these Zoom things, there's no chemistry. Even when you're just doing a business call, there's no chemistry. So I just wonder if you're doing a Zoom date and you do this for, say you do it for weeks and a month, but then you ultimately wind up meeting the person and there's just no chemistry. And you don't feel that online, and then you're like, God, I just wasted a month getting to know this person, and I finally get to actually get together with them in the same room, and it ain't there.
Well, I would say this. I recommend to my clients, when you're doing the video date, do that for at least a month to really get to know the person and you're comfortable with them. Now, while you're also doing it, that is the prime opportunity to talk about what is your COVID protocol, right? And getting that out on the table and to make sure the two of you are on the same page of what your COVID protocol is and how you're handling that. Then when you say, you know what? I'm ready. Let's do this face-to-face. We've been doing the video thing for a month. We understand we have the same COVID protocol. Then you go, where do you go from there? So since you agree on it, then you can schedule doing the face-to-face at that time once you're both comfortable around whatever your COVID protocol is. So it's important for you to get clear on that first so that you're able to communicate that to the other person to make sure on the same date. And usually after a month doing the video dating, they'll know if they have chemistry or not. For most instances, they'll know if they'll have chemistry or not after a month, because this isn't like a business meeting. They're actually getting more personal. So they'll be able to divulge that information. And then when you get together face to face, at a restaurant, outside, depending on where you are, when they do finally meet face-to-face, for most people, it feels like a reunion versus a stranger that they're meeting for the first time. So that is actually the benefit of sliding in the video dating that most people are having to do now, incorporating that in the dating process in this age of COVID. Then when they do go face-to-face, it's actually a much more connecting time. They feel that they're with someone that they've known because, they got to know them for at least a couple of weeks before they would see them face-to-face. And that's a big shift from how we used to do dating before, but it's also a good thing as well.
And is this what you're talking about in the article we read here, the 931 rule? We're talking to Stacey Murphy.
Yes, well, with the 931 rule, I know that was another relationship coach, and what I would do there, but I agree with that. You have to have as many prospects as you can, but then you have to narrow it down. And within the age of COVID, you have to also be very careful because, meeting someone and now breathing on them can have a whole different meaning, and things of that nature. You have to talk about even your connecting and even touching and stuff like that. So most people, when they are meeting face-to-face, they're still not kissing. They're not kissing each other unless they agree, let's go get a COVID antibody test and to see if we're okay there. And that is individual with the two people to see what their comfort level is. But dating is a numbers game. It truly is. So put yourself out there. But even before you do that, it's important to have a good attitude. It's important to work on your communication and your conversation. Those things are key. And if you do that, even with COVID, you still can have a good time in your relationships, whether it's a first time or whether you've been with your partner for a while.
Stacey, with that, we'll let you go. Always a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. You have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, Stacey.
Stacey Murphy.